All right, I think they're almost there now. So, yeah, all right. Good evening. So, Happy New Year. I'm Shanika. I'm current Atlanta chapter president. And for those that are new to our session, so BDPA Atlanta is a membership organization with a focus on technology. We're also focusing on increasing our uh, exposure to various topics within our community. One of the things that our Atlanta chapter provides is STEM programming throughout the year. Locally, and then also from the national level, there's also STEM programming available. We're actually ramping up for our youth STEM program. We're starting to ramp up now to get registrations going for volunteers and students. I'll drop a registration link in the chat in a little bit. But in that STEM program, we're aiming to teach computer science principles, professional development, and we'll grab more details like for those programs as the year starts to open up a bit more. In addition to our STEM program, we host our monthly meetings on the third Wednesday of each month. We take a break in August for our conference, and a little bit with this last year we took a break in December for the holidays. But this is us kicking off our year. Want to highlight our sponsor, so State Farm, who's been helping us with the Zoom platform for the last couple of years, and also Motion Recruitment, who's been helping us with content. So I can introduce John really quick if you wanted to throw in a couple words, John.
Come off mute. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, so Happy New Year to everyone. Look forward to our kickoff meeting tonight. Victor, thank you for I don't know. I mean, we didn't even, Shanika and I didn't even have to ask. I mean, he came to us wanting to do this AI discussion. So can't wait. I mean, look at this turnout. Great turnout, great topic, great presenter. So I don't know if I've told you this, Victor, but we've kind of pivoted a little bit from what we were going to try to go down an AI thread for a couple of months, and our efforts just in securing our speakers just kind of goes with what we're seeing with the employment market right now. It's a bit choppy out there, to say the least, right now, and kind of a difficult time for people that are in transition. So we've taken a little turn. So the next couple of months, not to get us off topic here on AI tonight, but the next 4 months are going to be on just different like job search strategies. So in February, we have Myra Sumbry going to talk about job search strategies. In March, we have Mike Williams from Google. His discussion is when you know it's time for a job change. In April, Jason Hayes is going to talk about hiring trends, a very good TA person, Jason. And Yolanda Hawks, also another excellent TA person, is going to talk on interview tips. So that's kind of our lineup through the spring. I'm thinking as we get into the summer months, we'll probably shift back in and maybe get back to something more AI centric, something more tech centric over the summer months. But we'll get there. Always looking for speakers. So if there's someone on this call that you think you sit through this and you're like, I could do that, give Shanika and I a buzz, and we'll talk through it. I was kind of thinking Ken Reeves would be a great person over the summer to lead one of these sessions. What do you think, Victor?
Not a problem, John.
Beautiful. I love you, brother. All right. So tonight, Gen AI, all sorts of talk about, Chat GPT, what and how should we be using this in our day-to-day life at work to be more productive? So I can't wait. I use it for a couple of things here and there. I probably should be using it a lot more than I am. So I'm anxious to hear Victor speak on this. So Victor, I feel like everyone knows you, so I don't want to keep rambling on here. Are you okay to introduce yourself? I mean, Victor, great friend for the last 3-4 years. Feel blessed to know him. Master's degree from Georgia Tech. Love that. almost 20 years at State Farm, director of audit right now, has a little photography side hustle, I guess. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Victor. Thank you again.
Awesome, awesome. No, I appreciate it, John. And I'm just going to get us set up with my screen so I can start chatting away here. And first off, really appreciate everyone that took the opportunity to join the call today. This is really a passion topic of mine. But at the same time, when I think about BDPA and I think about just the opportunities that are available, for what we do. Let me see here really quick. Shanika, I'm assuming you're seeing the note slide.
Nope. I think we see the actual slide, the
Oh,
Mentor Me title.
okay. Oh, awesome. Why does it look like I'm sharing the wrong screen? All right. So you're all right. All right. So awesome. So when I think about BDPA and the opportunities that we provide, not only to our membership, but those that, choose to be a part of the family in other ways, this is a topic that's going to help us for years to come. If it's not ChatGPT, it's going to be some other form of AI. So really excited to speak on this topic. But before I get into the topic, a few additional items that I'd like to touch on. As you all know, BDPA Atlanta is just a chapter in the BDPA family. National BDPA also hosts many different sessions where they're talking about different ways that you can just improve self, navigate your career, exposure to different tech. So I promote that as well. And end of July, beginning of August, we're going to have our national conference. More information to come on that, but I want you to be on the lookout both from BDP Atlanta as well as National BDPA. If you're not connected on LinkedIn, definitely do so. But be on the lookout for registration for the conference. It's going to be great. Last year was amazing. We had a lot of energy in 2023 around the conference, and we're going to bring that same energy in 2024. So definitely encourage you to just be on board with that. Now, ChatGPT and Mentor Me, right? Harnessing the power of AI in your professional journey, right? So I was trying to decide, what flattering picture of myself could I put up, in order to kick off this conversation. And there was none better than a picture that has the more flattering person in my life in it, and that's my wife that you see in the background there. And so the photo that you see is a graduation photo of she and I from Georgia Tech. We both received our master's degree in computer science from Tech. And that was one of the proudest moments that I've had in life, right? So to be able to share a moment like that with someone so special in your life, it's priceless. And why do I reference that? Well, that's my passion for technology, right? So I was mentioning to a mentee today that I haven't coded in probably 14 years, but I still like to keep my hand in the pot per se. Like I like to know that if I had to, I could go back to it, pick up where I left off, leverage some new skill sets, and be able to contribute in an effective way to not only assist whatever organization I'm a part of, but also assist my family. All right. So extremely important to me. And once again, thank you, John, for the introduction. I'm Victor Montgomery. I'm an audit director with State Farm. But even more than that, I am a technologist. And so sometimes people see that audit director and they're like, yeah, what is this guy going to talk to me about technology in regards to technology? I am a technologist. I have a passion around many different technologies. So from software engineering, data engineering, infrastructure, you think about quantum, and now you jump into this AI topic. It's something that I'm just all over, right? So I love being able to share my passion with others. The way I describe myself is in two fashions, right? One is talents, and the other is gifts, right? So my talent is technology. It's what I'm educated in. It's that thing that even if I'm not an expert and you give me a few hours, a few days to just get up to speed on a topic, I'm going to be fairly effective in leveraging that particular topic or technology. But the other side of that is you place me in front of some others. So let's say some career professionals that are exploring technical topics, and maybe the confidence is not there, or they feel like they can't overcome some barrier. Just get me in front of them for a little bit, and I'll find a way to help motivate and inspire them to realize their true potential. Right. So that's the talent piece, right? And that's the hard work side of it. But then there's the gift. And I am a spiritual guy, and I feel that this is what God has just given me. And it's going to sound a bit cliche, but my gift is in engaging with people, right? And I don't say that in a sense of, hey, I'm just a talker and I'm all in your business. But the reality is that if I sit across from you and we have a conversation, I'm listening to more than what you just say. I'm listening to your heart. I'm listening to what you're not saying, because I want to find a pathway to effectively help you overcome a challenge or continue to do whatever good thing it is you're doing. And that's just gifted to me. I haven't gone to school for it. I'm not your psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, etc. But it's just something that God has blessed me with that has benefited me tremendously in my career. And so when you put those two things together, the people side and the technology side, it just makes for me to have a wonderful life, right? Because there's always an avenue, there's always a lane that I can play in and be extremely excited about it. So with that, I want to bring you to this topic of mentor me, right? Harnessing the power of AI in your professional journey. Only if I can learn how to use my navigation on my Mac here. And so learning objectives today, right?
Sorry,
So
Victor.
okay.
Can't see the screen.
No? Anyone else?
Anyone else can
I
see this?
can. I can see it.
I see.
It looks fine here.
Okay, maybe it's on my side.
Okay, and Shanika, do you see there are two people in the waiting room, or is that just an old message for me? It's
Oh,
probably
yeah, that's me. I got it.
okay, cool. All right, Ken, I'm going to reshare. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to reshare just to make sure you can see the screen.
Yep, I see it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. So learning objectives for today. So, you always want to leave with something, right? So going to do a pretty quick introduction to ChatGPT and Gen AI, because majority of us have probably experienced it in some fashion. And so I'm not going to hit you over the head too heavy with that. I'm going to go over, just a few examples of Gen AI tools, right, beyond ChatGPT. But then we're going to get into why we're really here, and that's how do you leverage ChatGPT as an avenue of mentoring yourself, right? And I'll tell you the story of how I got to that place as well. So ChatGPT, all right, what's all the fuss about? All right, ChatGPT is just a chatbot, all right. If you're think of it in the simplest terms, it's a chatbot. And it's a chatbot that leverages a large, very large set of pre-trained data, right? So it's generative pre-trained data for those that are actually, familiar with the topic, right? So when you think about this pre-trained data, if you're to take large sets of whether it's internet data, book data, any music data, it's fed into this model, and that model just stores it, it learns it, it makes thoughts based on it. And then when Shanika goes out and asks it a question, it will go to that data and basically use that data to summarize some output to Shanika. And the beauty of ChatGPT is that you can talk to it in regular form, human form. Like you don't have to code anything in order to talk to it. You can just ask it basic questions. You can give it basic prompts. And based on the information that it has available to it, it will give you something back. Now, I have to put a pause right here just to throw a few addendums out here, right? So today we're going to be talking about mentor me, right? Which means in order to mentor yourself, you have to provide ChatGPT with some data on yourself. Now, I'll put a caution flag there, right? Because of course, when you give your data over to this tool, that means that the tool will at some point have access to the information that you placed in it, which means that the public may at some point have access to the information you put in the tool, right? So you want to be careful about putting too many identifying factors or identifying elements in your profile that I'll show you later, because again, you only need a couple of pieces of data. And not that I'm trying to scare anyone from a security standpoint, but you only need a couple of pieces of data in order to identify a person, right? So if you put too much personally identifiable data inside of your prompts, then ChatGPT will know who you are in that sense, and other people will as well. So I'll put that addendum. The other piece is, as much as I love technology, there are issues, and I'm not going to talk about the issues heavily with ChatGPT, but the only thing I'll say is, if you're using it beyond trivial things, ensure that you validate the output that's coming back to you. Ensure that you're not getting hallucinations, and hallucinations are just made up responses, right? ChatGPT thinks it knows the answer, so it gives you something, but it's completely made up. It may be a completely made up name or something else. So you just got to monitor that, right? But again, I put those cautions out there because that's the reality. You should always review what you're getting from any AI tool. But we're going to get into the fun of it, right? Push the pedal all the way to the floor and just let your car go, right? Now, why is this topic important to me presenting to you? Right, there are two components to it. Right, so when you think about getting to 1 million users, right? So you think about that. That's a pretty large number, and you see some of your, technology related companies and how long it took those to get to 1 million users. You take your Netflix, which is now probably the primary streaming platform out there. It took Netflix 3.5 years. You look at Twitter, it took 2 years. You look at Spotify, it took 5 months. But ChatGPT, with a throttle on it, right? Because they weren't letting everybody get on, it took 5 days to get to 1 million users. That's significant, right? And when you look at the time to reach 1 million, 100 million users, just took 2 months, right? So why is that important, right? That means that many people are taking advantage of having access to tools like this. The barrier of entry to use AI has been lowered significantly. And there are so many people taking advantage. If you haven't done it yet, you're almost at a disadvantage, right? And I believe I was having a conversation with someone, and we're talking about, okay, how do you begin to evaluate people? Like, so if Lisa Ann, if I knew she leverages ChatGPT, right, and she's becoming more efficient, she's able to crank out more work. The quality of the work appears to have gone up somewhat, but she's delivering hand over fist 5 times as much as her peers, right? But I know she's using ChatGPT, and her peers are not using ChatGPT, and they are delivering, they're still doing a good job, but they're not doing as good as Lisa Ann in regards to the efficiency. Do I rate Lisa Ann better than I rate them because she's leveraging technology in a way that's benefiting the company? Or do I look at them and say, okay, well, for their 5 times less work, they're still doing the same quality, so they're equal to her? Now, if me being a hiring leader, I'm probably not going to ask Lisa Ann, did she use ChatGPT, right? So let's say I don't know, and it just looks like she's doing 5 times as much. Well, she's going to get the benefit of that, right? So I encourage you, especially as we talk through how do you leverage this in your career pathing, there are many things you can do with ChatGPT. Of course, you got to be cautious because you don't want to put any of your company's proprietary information out there, on the system. But There are trivial things, there are routine things that you can definitely leverage it for. Writing emails, searching emails to get sentiment analysis in it. You know how sometimes you think the tone of someone's email is saying a certain thing to you, but you don't quite know. Well, now you can put it in these, chat GPT-ish type of tools and tell it to analyze it for tone, and it'll let you know whether or not they were being a little snippy with you, or if you overreacting. It will give you that sentiment analysis. So there's so much good that you can do with tools like this, right? But when you look at that adoption rate, imagine if you don't adopt it today, right? How far behind you could be, right? So I encourage you, when you see things like this and you see the technologies that are being leveraged today, take advantage of it, try it out. I'm not saying go pay for things or put too much of your personal information out there, but you should see how you can take advantage of the information that's available and the tools that's available. These are a few tools that I've used. Midjourney. If you've seen on LinkedIn lately, Facebook, if you're on Facebook and some other social networking sites, these really cool looking images that people are putting out there, Midjourney is one of the tools that they use to do it. You can put ChatGPT-ish type prompts in Midjourney, and then it will produce you really cool images in the background. I created an entire children's book using Midjourney images. I created some flashcards for my son. I'm encouraging him. He's 7 years old, and he's probably the only one that's going to go into tech like me and his mom. But I want to encourage him to go into tech. So I got him flashcards with little images on it that looks like him, that was generated from Midjourney. And then I put tech words on it, right? That will just constantly show him to see if that inspires him to want to go into tech. Gamma.app. It's an interesting application. You can put, let's just say, a research project in there or whatever. You can copy and paste it, and it will create you a pretty clean PowerPoint presentation directly in the app. It's pretty slick. I've used it a few times. It's a generic PowerPoint presentation, although it's clean. Every time you generate a new one, it's probably going to have a very similar look and feel. But I can only imagine that technology is going to continue to improve, and they're going to get even better at doing that. DALL-E is very similar to Midjourney, but it's the OpenAI version where you can go in and put prompts in and it'll create an image. And then for my technologists out there, if you have not used GitHub Copilot yet, you're behind the curve, right? This will help pre-populate code based on what it thinks you're doing, based on what you're typing. And it's decently good, right? It has its quirks. It has its moments where it's just completely off, but overall, it's a fairly good tool. And again, these are only 4. When you go out there and search, the market is wide open for AI tools that are leveraging ChatGPT-like functionality, OpenAI functionality, right? So now, how have I used ChatGPT, right? I've used it for resume writing. So I've assisted others in helping to curate their resumes. To know me and to ask me to do a resume review for you, you know that I'm going to put some like extreme effort into ensuring that, I'm giving you a quality review, right? So it's not like I'm at a career fair and I have to go through a line of people. So I'm just really quick with it. When you send me your resume, you're like, hey, Victor, review my resume for me. Like, I'm intentional. If you give me a PDF, I'm putting notes at every spot so you can highlight and see kind of what I was thinking as I was going through it. I'm making suggestions on wording changes. It's very time consuming, right? And so to have a tool like ChatGPT where I can prop something in there and it gives me back, a very good starting point. Not to say that it's the end result, but it gives me a very good starting point. I love it. I love it. Conference marketing plan. Like, I was able to leverage it for some things that I've done for BDPA, Python coding. I was just testing it out. I actually did some algorithms, Python algorithms, just to see how well it did. And it did a good job. And I've used it for what? Bedtime stories for my kid. And I've created love songs from it in the voice of Teddy Pendergrass, right? Because Teddy Pendergrass is my favorite singer of all time. And I love his voice. And I'm like, hey, create me some love songs in the voice of Teddy Pendergrass, and I'll pretend like I'm singing like him. And it's pretty cool. But the other thing I've used it for is mentoring, right? And if you've used ChatGPT, this is the beauty of it, right? On the left-hand side of ChatGPT, you have your history, your chat history. And so let's say, for instance, Edwin and I are in a mentoring relationship and he's feeding me information about himself. Now, I'm not going to put too much public information private information in there, but like general things like his background, what he's interested in, his hobbies, what does he do from a career standpoint? Like I can plop that into Chat GPT and say, create a profile based on these items. Now, every time I meet with Edwin, I still have that history there. So it's going to allow me to curate and get to know Edwin even more. And then Chat GPT will assist me in making recommendations to Edwin in regards to career opportunities, risk he should take, risk he shouldn't take. And then I could look at that to say, yes, I agree with this. No, I don't agree with that. Or I'm going to reword this a bit. When I talk to Edwin, I'm not going to give it to him directly how ChatGPT is giving it to me. So for me, that's a very cool usage of ChatGPT. And so when I began doing that, I said to myself, well, if I'm doing this with my mentees, why can't I do it for myself? Right? What's stopping me from being able to leverage that same formula to be able to mentor me? Right? So no longer do I have to go through and connect with, individuals that may be busy, with their own career or with their own lives. I can at least get a good jump start by leveraging this AI tool. And that's what we're going to get into today. So my live exercises. So I'm going to go away from the PowerPoint now because really this is going to be about the exercises. And I do want it to be interactive. So as we're going through, if there's something that you're like, hey, try this, try that, jump in, come off of mute, or put it in the chat, and Shanika will give me a heads up on what it is. And we're going to use it because I want you to see the value of it in real time, right? And so for those of you that have not leveraged it just yet, we're going to go through and show you some value adds on why you probably should at least give it a spin. Give it one good try. All right, sounds good? All right. So let me end that show. And I am going to cheat a bit here, right? So I'm going to show you all something that you didn't see, but since we're family, I don't mind disclosing it to you all. All right. So when I talk about I work with ChatGPT, and I know this may look pretty small for some, but this is an Excel spreadsheet, right? And so this Excel spreadsheet contains prompts that I've either sourced from other places that I've come up with myself. It just contains prompts on different ways that I can ask ChatGPT various questions, right? So you see, I keep track of a lot of stuff, right? And I kind of hid my own personal one. This is my sample one, so it doesn't have as many. But then I also have prompt starters, right? These prompt starters are lifesavers. They help you, I'll use this one for example, just to give you a visual of what I'm talking about. So let's say you wanted to write a compelling email or something like that, right? So what I'm telling ChatGPT who it is. All right. So you are an accomplished marketer and business strategist, deeply experienced in the art of persuasive writing, right? conversion enhancement, et cetera, right? So you all get the feel. Those of you that sell me things, you know, for my organization, like y'all know the strategy, right? So I put that in there, and ChatGPT is going to tell me, yes, I understand. They're telling me I understand who I am. All right, so now I just say, create an email communication to the BDPA Atlanta audience that will influence them to join the organization as a member.
So Victor, you would put BDPA Atlanta audience, or would you say a communication to this type of audience?
Yeah,
Would
I
you
mean,
specific like that in there, or would you?
yeah, I would do that, and I would do it like I'm doing it right now and just type it out. And if it doesn't give me what I want, I'll change it. But let me be honest with you on another thing. I do treat it like I'm talking to a person, right? So the one thing I forgot to say, you may laugh at me, but whenever I say please and things like that, and I say thank you, that was a great output. Whenever I do that, it seems like I get better responses. So I try to be courteous where I can, you know. So join the organization as a member, ensure the email is compelling, and don't mind my spelling, compelling, but effective. I don't know. All right, so this is just on the spot. Let's see what it does. Unlock your potential BDP Atlanta membership. We hope this message finds you as well. We are reaching out. You know, it does a really good job. And I probably can copy and paste this right now because I am who I am. I probably will go in and add a little more Victor language to it. But it does a pretty good job. And I didn't have to sit here like Lisa Ann, how you're about to get me to be more like specific with it.
Less specific.
Less specific, but I don't have to think as much right now. I just give it a quick something and then it gives me something like this. And now I can go in and say, okay, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to keep this. Nah, I don't need that. And again, it takes the thought out of it. So something that would have taken me about 30 minutes to craft to make sure that it sounded just right took me about 30 seconds to craft, right? It's just an efficiency ploy, right? So now I'm going to hide my Excel spreadsheet, but you all know that I am copying and pasting from this. I didn't want you all to think that I was just like typing everything from scratch here. But what I'm about to do is show you how to mentor yourself using ChatGPT. And actually, let me, again, I love telling on myself. If you look at this profile section here, I made up a person. Right. So this is not a real person at all. I made up one, and then I'm telling ChatGPT just so I can walk you through how to do this. I'm saying act as Taffy Brown. So I could have said act as Victor Montgomery whenever I wanted to, right? Act as Taffy Brown. Below, I've included the profile for Taffy. After you receive the profile, please let me know you understand who you are and you are ready for the next prompts, right? So basically, I'm taking this prompt and I've added, you know, some information in here that you don't necessarily have to add, but I wanted to have a good feel of who this person was. And the only thing I do is, actually, I'm going to start a new chat. I just paste it in there. So it tells me I understand who I am. And so just to ensure, please provide a summary profile. Just so I can see if they really know, right? So this is all the information that I just gave it, right? So it really knows who this person is. Is there any specific you would like to know or discuss as Taffy Brown? All right, so this is where we have fun, right? So Taffy Brown is a 15+ year employee. She graduated from Harvard with an organizational management degree, her undergrad from UGA here in Georgia in business administration. All right. Her leadership traits, she's a visionary leader. She believes in empowerment, effective communication, honesty, integrity, strategic thinking. She's open and honest. She's proactive about problem solving. She believes in accountability for work, adaptability, and flexibility. She guides with truth and transparency, right? So Taffy's a pretty cool person, right? And when you think about what Taffy would like to do in the future, let's see if they provided, they didn't put it in the summary profile, but and I didn't put it in this one either. So let's just say in the future, what do you all think Taffy will want to do in the future? Add to Taffy's profile. Near future, she'd like to be what? She'd like to be a people leader in her field. Sounds good?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say maybe director.
And you see how it gave me the quick summary, right, of what she is. Now, this is the beauty of it, right? So I sit in many talent discussions and I sit in many mentoring sessions, right? Both internal and external to the organization I work for. And you get very common questions, right? Okay, so do I have some chats I should respond to, Shanika?
Yeah, there's a couple. So Taffy would want to be BDPA national president.
I missed out on
And
that one, Judy. We're gonna make her national president soon, though.
and practicing manager for Fortune 100. So maybe this director could be for Fortune 100.
Yeah, and so I saw some good questions in there, and I apologize because I wasn't looking at chat. So I do have the the capability of using ChatGPT 4, right? But for the sake of this exercise, I only want to show you things with the free version, right? So I actually pay money for 4 because I'm a nerd and I like having access to the newest tools. But the free version does a really good job at most of your basic tasks. The difference in the free version and the paid version is that it will give me more detail for prompts like this in the paid version. It will be a little more concise, but this version does a really good job at that as well. All right. So now when I think about mentoring, right, I get very common questions all the time, like, please, and I'm just telling ChatGPT this, please provide Taffy examples on how to effectively navigate the organization in network. Also, give Taffy, and this I could say give me because they're acting as me, right? Give Taffy a task list to execute in the next 6 months that will help her navigate the org. So a common question I get is how do I network and navigate the organization? Right? Very simple question, but depending on your workload, how large your organization is, what your role is within the organization, it could be pretty challenging, right? So considering I get that question a lot, it'd be awesome if I knew, you know, how to communicate that to someone. And ChatGPT gave me a really defined list, right? on the examples of navigating. And then they gave the month 1 and 2, the month 3 and 4, the month 5 and 6, right? And so forth, so forth, right? So you can do these exact same things. Now, it may not be possible for you to enroll in a leadership development course within your organization, but you can still use LinkedIn Learning. You can use other avenues to accomplish the same thing. All right. So that's a pretty easy way. So now I didn't have to go to Lisa Ann and sit with Lisa Ann and say, hey, Lisa Ann, how can I navigate the organization? Because I know Lisa Ann is a very hard worker, extremely busy, I can take a step back and say, hey, ChatGPT, because you know my profile, what are your recommendations for me navigating the organization? And oh, by the way, depending on what company you put in your profile, it's probably going to have some historical information already fed into it about that company as well, just from a public information standpoint, right? So it's very, very valuable. So I'm curious, John, I know you mentor a lot of people. What's a common thread, a common question that you'd get from folks in regards to mentoring them that we can help Taffy with?
I always get a lot of questions about certifications, which certifications are worthwhile to pursue. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Something like that. Another one would be, how to go about, like, if I want to change industries, how best to, navigate a change from my current industry to a different industry vertical.
Okay, so let's see if this version of ChatGPT, and remember what role Taffy is in currently, right? So they're listing some certifications and who it's offered by, and the focus is in what it enhances, right? So really good information. Now the reality is, if you're to come to ask Victor that, if you're a technologist, especially in a certain domain, then yeah, I probably can tell you certifications to go get. But now ChatGPT, it can leverage information and probably be more specific to whatever career role you're in, to help you identify certifications specific to your role that will be meaningful, to go out and look at. And John gave a really good one. Please share with Taffy steps she could take to career change to technology department. And so the interesting thing is with this, and this is real time, right? Every person that's coming from a business role, and Lisa Ann, you maybe can attest to this because I know you came from a business role into tech, and originally you came in as a business analyst, right? Usually that's what we tell them automatically, right? So you can almost fact check ChatGPT to say, okay, let me see if this really is what I would have told the person. And again, it's giving you the information real time, and you can do this on yourself. So you can create your really quick profile and feed ChatGPT some general information, and then begin to ask things like, okay, my organization does XYZ. What should I do to be competitive for that type of opportunity, right? So, oops, didn't mean to do that. What I do here, just to show you all kind of how I manage my crazy ChatGPT windows, and I just say Taffy Brown profile, right? And granted, this could be the Victor Montgomery profile, if necessary. But I say Taffy Brown profile, right? And so now whenever I come to this, I know this is Taffy Brown. If I were mentoring Lisa Ann, it could say Lisa Ann, but again, this is about mentoring me, right? So if I'm acting, no, I'm not going to even do that. I'm trying to figure out. That's fine. So if I'm acting as Taffy Brown, right, something that I'm always considerate of is, okay, if I think I'm doing a good job, right, and I want to be, let's say, promoted, right? Usually I would go to a mentor, and what's that thing I would say to them? I say, okay, man, I've been killing it. Like I've been like working my tail off. I'm getting great feedback from my peers. You know, my customers are giving me amazing feedback. It's like my boss is just not acknowledging it. It seems like they don't know that I'm doing a great job. And I've been waiting for this promotion for 2 years now. You know, what do you think I should do? Right. So let's ask ChatGPT, say, I did I do something? What in the world just happened? What is this little thing? Okay, there we go. Okay, so somehow I haven't. Do you all see what I'm seeing? It's like this little eraser thing popped up.
Yeah, I see it.
Does anybody know how to get rid of the eraser? I don't know what I clicked.
Right click escape doesn't do it.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, there we go. Hey, lifesaver. There you go.
Gold star for Edwin.
You know, hey, I was like, man, escape is going to make my screen go away. All right, all right. So why is it still not typing?
Hey, Victor, just refresh it. Just refresh the whole browser.
Yeah, it's not even. You see, it's not. It's like it's on a cursor. It's like on a laser pointer. So I must have hit the laser pointer of some sort. There it is. Okay, it's back. Can you all still see?
No, you'll have to share again.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. I'm like, man, so it looked like it took over as a laser pointer. All right, can you all see my screen now?
Yep.
You said yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes, looks good.
All right. So I only because I've been using first person. Taffy has been doing an excellent job over the past 2 years. However, she has not received actually no one. I talk to it like I talk to it passionately, you know. So that's just my style, right? You may choose to do it a little differently. What she could do to lead, please provide Taffy with talking points to support her credibility with her. And let's just see what it does.
I think it's kind of okay to be passionate. It seems like the more information that you provide, the better that it seems to work. Even backstory.
Yeah, and so that's the piece, right? So I know our focus is on how you can do these prompts and it be focused on you, right? But I know in looking at the participants, there are a lot of leaders on the call. And I'm not saying this is how you cheat your staff or cheat your mentees and take the easy button route to mentoring them as well. But to that statement, the more information you provide, the better profile that the tool will build on that person. And just like sentiment analysis, the better outcomes you'll be able to get in order to support the goals and the pathing of that individual. Right. So it's important as specific as you can be, but also with tonality, like whatever you can give it to show the tool like how you want it to respond. It's important, right? And you can talk to ChatGPT similar to how I would talk to Shanika, right? So if I were having a conversation with Shanika and she was mentoring me, because she's my mentor, like there are things that I'm going to disclose to her that I'm probably not going to share broadly. There's going to be a way that I say things to Shanika that maybe if Lisa Ann was my boss, I'm not going to say it to her in that same fashion, even though I try to get to the same endpoint, but it's just going to be different, right? And so in order to be able to read the room in a sense, you have to provide ChatGPT with, that type of information if possible, right? Because it's not always possible to do that. But when you think about yourself, it's definitely possible because I know some of us have reached places and we're like, man, I should have been promoted 10 years ago. Like, what's going on? And you can actually provide input to, okay, these are the things I've done, high level summary style, because you don't want to put your company's information in regards to like their level descriptions and things like that. But you can just give general. In general, they look for this level to be a self-starter, that kind of thing. So you don't have to be very specific about your company's detail, but then you can ask ChatGPT, am I missing something? Like, should I be doing more? Or should I promote myself in a certain way in order to get the attention from those around? Right. But if I look at this, highlighting your achievement, this is actually an interesting one, that number 2, expressing interest in advancement. And every mentor that you've probably gone to, when you ask them the question around, okay, what do I need to do to gain more visibility? What do I need to do to get promoted? They're probably going to say, oh, have you talked to your leader and expressed interest in other opportunities or expressed interest in the fact that you want to be promoted? And it's almost like an egg on your face moment. You're like, I thought they would just give it to me because I was a hard worker, in which that happens with some people, but it's not guaranteed, right? Sometimes you have to open your mouth and say those magic words like, hey, I'm interested in the next level. Are there some things I can do to become more competitive for it? Or I'm interested in this different opportunity. Are there things that I can do to become more competitive? But again, looking at this and fact checking ChatGPT, I'm like, you know what? That sounds like something I would tell someone, right? So I'm going to take a quick pause here. Questions, feedback, comments. What are some other questions we can ask ChatGPT on behalf of Taffy, i.e. on behalf of you, right? What are some other things that you ask your mentees or mentors, or your mentees ask you, or your mentors, you ask them? What are some additional things?
Hey, Victor, salute, man. This is awesome. There's a couple of nuggets that I picked up. The sentiment piece and the nuances, it makes sense, right? It's a language model, and it's attempting to learn from, however we would put into text what are inflections and, patterns of speech, blah, 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 to try to communicate emotion, right? Mm-hmm. Your point about giving it some tonality, does it then potentially, and I'm still trying to form the idea, but does it potentially then make it personalized, results personalized to the prompter? And then is there potentially a sort of a feedback loop or an echo chamber concern that may come from that?
It's giving you commentary based on whatever tonality or whatever sentiment you gave it. And so really it's kind of boxing in kind of
Exactly.
what the true.
Same concern for the algorithms
Yeah,
in
I would
other
say
platforms, right?
that's definitely possible, very plausible, right? And that's one of those places where you can't always copy and paste, right? That's why, although I'm not reading through everything it's given me, like if I were actually going to use some of this, like for myself, or if I were going to use it on you, Edwin, then I'd have to go through this and ensure that it's not misrepresenting what I thought it should give, to you. Like for that particular reason, right? Because it's very easy to get caught up in that easy button push and say, okay, now I don't have to work hard. But it could be that one moment that you don't pay attention to it that I send Edwin's career into a tailspin because I gave him some bad advice. Because he's going to trust me giving it to him because I'm not saying, hey, Edwin, right? If I'm mentoring someone else, I'm not going to say, hey, Edwin, hey, I just got this from ChatGPT and you should go do this, right? I'm going to present it as, hey, these are some things I think you should do that will be a value add to your career pathing, right? And see kind of how you go forward from there, right? So I have to be very careful with that because just like ChatGPT can provide you hallucinations and just make stuff up, I guarantee it could do the same in spaces like this where it doesn't seem, as mission critical. But if I give it to someone and they trust me and then they follow that to the letter, it may lead them down a pathway that's not completely accurate, right? Like, of course, like I would want to put in here, hey, Taffy's an introvert. Taffy doesn't respond well when people challenge her, right? I would put some of that in here because then Chat GPT for this particular Taffy profile is going to give me representations on how Taffy can be effective based on those elements about her that may be a little bit off-putting to others, right? And so that same thing, if this is the amazing thing about mentoring yourself, right? If you've looked around those corners of yourself and your habits, your tendencies, for instance, I can tell you, I'm a very broad thinker. I'm like up there, right? When it comes to the detail, I need some folks around me who can hold me accountable for the detail because I will ignore the detail, right? Because I want to help us get to the, hey, this is that magic moment. Like, this is where we want to go to, not thinking of the step A through Z that it takes to get to the magic moment. Now I'm willing to participate in A through Z. I just don't want to think about it, right? And so I need those people around me. So when I'm mentoring myself, I have to ensure that Chat GPT understands I'm not detail oriented. However, I'm accountable for things that require me to be detail oriented. So now it could be that friend to me to say, hey, Victor, I know you want to do this broad thing, but did you think about steps 1 through 10? Like, did you think about that? Okay. And now I can see that and have that reminder that, okay, oh, I almost slipped up right there, but Chat GPT reminded me of that, right? So that's the kind of conversation you have to have with the tool. And it feels weird at times because you're treating it like it's a person, but that's kind of how you want it to react to you. Michelle?
Have you noticed or tried to see if there's any differences if you added race to the question, say, I am a Black woman or a Black man? Has it come out any different from from omitting that? Have you ever tried that?
Let's just let's test it out. I mean,
Great question. Great
there's
question.
nothing like real time testing. So let's just see. Provide a career pathing.
I've tried it in the past myself, and I actually got kind of the equivalent of an error message when I used race, and then I changed the demographic from race to geographical demographic. which is very, very interesting. And I do a lot of like representation in virtual reality and tech and things like that. And yeah, it makes you ask some questions
And I'm
at
curious.
at times.
So what I just did, because I want to see what they're going to say to Taffy. So I originally I just gave a generic provide a career pathing scenario. Okay. If Taffy was a white woman, let's see. What would you suggest? And hopefully it gives me that error message that you mentioned. Say generally remain the same for based on you. Here's a recap. Okay, so it's saying basically I'm going to keep it the same.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Yeah.
So I've done some of this for technologists of color, like so obviously focusing in on Black people. What you can do in the same way that you gave a background of Taffy, when you ask it a question specific to race, when you keep it broad, it tries to equivocate. If you are very precise in defining your parameters, it will give you a response. And if it equivocates, if you tell it to be definitive or to like, so when it says that there aren't any differences, or I would tell the same thing, if you say something, given that there are societal differences in how she may be treated, what would you suggest? And again, like you're talking to a person who wants to kind of like not answer a race question. The more specific you are, you can get it to stop doing that, and it'll answer it flat out. It's basically the way you game it is you ask it a hypothetical, and then it'll answer you. Assuming that you were this, how would you answer this question? And then it'll answer it directly.
And so
I did the same thing again by using geographical preferences, like
I like
using
that geographical.
cities, urban, things like that.
Yeah, and so similar to what you just stated from a geographical standpoint, what I did provide it from a profile standpoint was that she grew up in inner city Atlanta, right? I didn't tell them where she lives currently, but I think that will give them the indicator of what she possibly is associated with. But again, I didn't get into any indicators of race in particular. But I'll do some more on that. And Mark, I appreciate you jumping in as well, because I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic to go down. Just again to play with it to see what type of information it gives it. Because the one piece I didn't give in my addendum earlier is that we understand that representation may not have always been present in the development of these models, right? So it's possible that at times it's not representing particular demographics or locations in a proper way, right? So we definitely can acknowledge that. So I'll play with that a bit more. And Mark, I see your hand is still up.
I was going to ask, do you so when you're asking the question, I guess it was in part of my answer, do you define yourself?
Yes.
So that it knows how to answer.
Yes. So in that beginning prompt, like when I told it, hey, you're acting as Taffy Brown, and I gave it that entire profile, for that sample one, it gave a pretty decent profile. Like if I were, as we're talking, I'm going to find the one that's my profile, right? I'm going to show you my profile because my profile is a bit more detailed and it gives a little more of myself. So you know how to respond, like when it's interacting with Victor, it will know how to respond and what tone to use and who I am as a person, that kind of thing. But yes, like you should give it as you want with your particular profile individually, because you're the only one that's possibly going to ever see it. Like I'm free with showing you mine and all the different things that I was using it for. But you're going to be the only one to potentially see your profile outside of whatever data you put in it. A year and a half, 2 years from now can be pulled into the training of whatever next OpenAI model is going to be available. But again, like the possibilities are endless. And we haven't touched on nothing but we just touched on a small bit of making your life more efficient, right? Using this tool. Again, you can use it for yourself. You can use it for mentees. You can use it for engaging mentors. Like there's so much you can do, and that's only a small pocket of how you can leverage this tool. There are so many avenues that you can take with this. And so because I don't want to any other questions?
Michelle has their hand up.
I was just wondering how often do you use the feedback response, especially when you get something that is incorrect or you don't agree with the thumbs up and thumbs down. Only reason because I'm involved with producing tools for customers to be able to create their own large language models, and we do store that feedback from the thumbs up, thumbs down to help train the model.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I actually I use it often. And so I even have conversations like when I said I was doing some of the Python coding. So I placed a question in there that I already knew the answers to, right? And I allowed ChatGPT to give me responses. And then, I want to be a contributor to the effectiveness of the tool. So I gave it feedback I thumbs downed it and I told it why I gave it the thumbs down. I told it that, the answer should have been X and it gave me a different answer. And it went back, it apologized just like it does. So ChatGPT is very cordial. It apologized and said, I'm sorry for that answer, my mistake. And then based on the answer that I gave it, it gave a better solution which matched what I already had. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I don't know why it didn't give me that originally. Maybe my prompt wasn't as precise for the coding example, but it was interesting that, once I gave it the answer, it was able to come back and get to the answer. But yes, I like doing it because in the end, I wanted to, be able to provide as much meaningful information as it possibly can.
Awesome, thank you.
Casey?
Hello, if my audio goes out, please let me know. Thank you for having this session. Nice to meet everyone. My question is, I'm trying to figure out how, this is the perfect topic, how to use ChatGPT to accelerate my Salesforce skills. 'Cause I'm working on a couple of certifications. I'm in the cybersecurity space because the goal for me is to be an expert in the front end of things. And I'm still trying to see how it can help me be a study buddy. I'm not sure if that's a strange question, and I'm
Oh,
trying
no,
to figure
no,
the language
no.
around that. Can you give me some guidance?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I leverage ChatGPT as a study buddy. I've generated many different tutorials for technology. So the group BDPA, we teach children, students K through 12, full stack web development. And so I've gone in there to figure out, okay, create me a tutorial on leveraging Bootstrap with HTML5 in order to teach 12th graders coding, and it was able to do it. The challenge with Salesforce is the information that ChatGPT gives you is going to at this point be about 2.5 years old. I don't know if that when the last time they've updated. I'd have to go back out there, but I don't believe there's a recent update. So the information they're giving you, it could be on an older version, but I think some of the general like certifications, et cetera, like that still should be accurate. And so you just go in and you'd ask it based on what you're trying to achieve from a Salesforce standpoint. And if you're saying you want to be more front end of it, give it those data points and it will give you some really good feedback. And then just if it's not exactly what you're looking for, like maybe it gives you too broad of information, tell it to be more specific. Like get intimate with it. Like tell it that you're wanting information that you can act on today. like just, and it will give you some really good feedback. And like I said, I've used it for some really intricate things, especially from a tutorial standpoint, and it's been really good at assisting me in that. But HTML is different than Salesforce, right? Salesforce is a whole platform, many different tools under it. So you probably just want to be specific about which tools under Salesforce you want, the mentoring or tutoring in, and then go from there.
All right. Thank you so much for the answer.
And I know some folks, just from that certification standpoint, that have leveraged it for some AWS training for certs. I see Edwin mentioned he used it as an assist with Apex for his dev cert. So yeah, people are using it in all types of ways. Great question. Mark?
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. 'Cause I had a question. I work more so in the creative industry. And so my question is, when you do a text to code or develop images from text through ChatGPT, um, are there any restrictions, or are you allowed to copyright any of that stuff and keep it as your IP? Or what, if you have any idea about that, I'd just like to hear some of your input.
Yeah, so I'm going to give myself the out and say, you know what, I don't know. So
If I can, Vic.
it's my out. Go ahead, Mark. You can answer it.
Yeah, so the patent office has been very clear on this. Only humans are allowed to have copyright, so that if you create something, part of your copyright as well as your patent application, you have to define what did what. And what they define when it's refined as generative AI, that means that the computer, the algorithm generated it, therefore it is not patentable. But you can combine them, but you would then have to indicate what percentage of what you created. Like, so for example, Adobe has the ability for you to touch up a photo, right? So within you doing that, the photo, right, is copyrightable but it's going to be, you're going to have to indicate like what the AI did and what you did, and hope that your percentage makes it that way. But when you use generative AI to complete the whole thing, like prompting it as he did, if the result of that was like a work, there was a woman who put a book on Amazon, and they informed her after she talked about how she got Amazon to write her book that she no longer had the copyright for the book, because most all works, when you create them, they're quote unquote copyrighted. You cannot have a copyright or a patent through generative AI. That's settled. You can go to the patent.gov and they have a paper on that out there that explicitly spells that out.
Appreciate that assist, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for that information.
And so I know we're coming up on time here, so I want to do one additional thing, not necessarily with ChatGPT, but this is more so with all of the folks that are still in the meeting. We have a decent amount of folks that are on the call that's exploring new opportunities, as well as companies that may be represented on the call that are hiring. So I just encourage you, if you're hiring, or maybe even if you know of someone that's hiring, if you drop a tag or something in the chat session, and if you're looking for an opportunity, just drop your name, possibly LinkedIn profile link, and maybe if you want to put type of role you're looking for, that'd be great. But I do want to begin leveraging our sessions. I should have done this at the beginning, but leveraging our sessions for those opportunities as well. Because as was mentioned earlier, as John was talking about the AI topics and just, the marketplace being a little volatile right now, we want to do whatever we can as an organization to ensure that we're providing a pathway to those that choose to join our sessions. So if there's ever a hiring leader or a hiring influencer that's on the call, feel free, drop your tags in the chat, and definitely if you're looking for an opportunity, drop your tags. There may be some folks that aren't on the call that we can share your information with them, but we are definitely here to ensure that we're covering all the bases. So it's not just about the informative, topics. It's also about the whole person. So really, really excited to have you all join the session. And man, you made this a special moment. Appreciate you, Shanika, John, for allowing me to come in for a moment to have the floor.
That was excellent.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Victor. That was very, very informative. I think everyone learned some stuff tonight. In a group this size, you've always got like varying amounts of experience with these tools, and you did a great job of making it work for everybody. So thank you for that. Awesome stuff. So Victor, what are you doing on February 21st?
February 21st, I think I'll be coming right out of the ITSMF. No, that's March. So no, nothing. I don't think I'll be doing anything.
This is not a trick question. This is our next month's meeting. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
So February 21st, you heard Myra speak a little bit before. She's been on a few times over the last couple of years. So she agreed to open up, be vulnerable about what she went through last year with her job search. As the tide shifted last year quite a bit in the market. So tune in for that if you're on right now. I mean, it really what she did, how she did it, the pivots that she made, and everything. There's some valuable lessons to be learned from that experience and that journey from Myra. So should be a great session. We'll keep building on that through the spring. And I love this, Victor. This is a great. I want us to get back on this track though at some point this year. So, and we will. So. But thank you again. Thank you, Shanika. I don't know if you have any final thoughts as we close.
Nope. Thanks everyone. Yeah, thanks again, John. Thanks, Victor. And I think we'll cut it there. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. Thank you.